Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I have another weekly check-in reading for the week of Sunday, June 28th through Saturday, July 4th. I cannot believe June has just come and flown by so quickly. I literally spent the last week kind of in and out of it, as I did have a major surgery on Monday the 22nd. I'm doing better. I feel more like a person again. I'm still recovering. I'm still trying to take it slow. And actually ended up sleeping like 12 hours last night, which is why I didn't get a chance to record this earlier and get it posted like I had intended. Thank you to everyone for their well wishes and their concern. I am on the mend and I feel so much better now. So I'm going to be using the Good Tarot because I just feel like this is very much like Cancer season energy. Now we are going to have the full moon in Capricorn on Monday the 29th. We also have Mercury retrograde in Cancer starting this week, I believe, as well. We have some pretty crazy astrology going on for July of this year. A lot of things kind of happening around July 4th, which is Independence Day here in the United States. And it'll be America's 250th birthday, so to speak. So a lot of different things kind of happening this week, things to kind of keep an eye out for and kind of keep in mind if you kind of feel like things are not really moving or progressing the way that you had intended. So let's get into, I don't really use this deck very often, so it's nice and stiff with the books. So let's see what we have, coming up for us this week and what we can kind of keep in mind as we move through these energies. So let's see what we have here. All right. So what do we need to know as a collective this week? We have the Seven of Water or the Seven of Cups. All right. What do we need to do as a collective this week? We have the Queen of Earth. What do we need to release? We have love. And then what do we need to contemplate this week as a collective? The Three of Fire. Now I do want to pull a Moonology message card just because we do have this full moon in Capricorn tomorrow. So I want to see what we have as a collective, maybe a moon message for all of us. Since I've had like the whole anesthesia thing last week, my throat has still been kind of scratchy. So here we have full moon forgiveness. Isn't that a little bit of a funny message for this Capricorn full moon? And I do want to pull one more. How about we do a Ritual Earth Oracle? Let's do a little bit of this. So I kind of feel this. There's like moons on it. So we have the Healer, offerings, release, and freedom. Okay. Let's get into the reading for this week and kind of see where it takes us and kind of things to kind of keep in mind. All right. So what do we need to know this week? We have the Seven of Water, which is the Seven of Cups. Now, whenever I think of the Seven of Cups, I think it's very much this card that is kind of showing us all of the choices, all of the options, all of the illusions that maybe we have about our situation, about what's going on. Maybe it's a call to remind us of everything that we have kind of available to us in different ways. With the seven here, we have this kind of opportunity to look at the different options. And it doesn't mean that everything that is presented to us is going to be something beneficial or something good for us. It can sometimes be a little bit confusing. It can be a little bit of a challenge in some manner. But with water, when I think of the element of water, I think of flowing, I think of intuition, I think of, movement in the sense of something that is gently moving us towards the next thing. And I think of how it connects us and how we need it to live. 7 is a very spiritual number because it is allowing us to understand what it is that we need to kind of choose for ourselves in different aspects and elements. It's saying, hey, you've been through a lot of different challenges. Maybe you've been through a lot of different tribulations and trials. And this is your opportunity to kind of look at what is necessary and needed at this point in time. So right now we may feel like what we need to know is that there is a lot of potential and options available to us, but that doesn't always mean that it's going to be the best thing for us. And maybe we don't need to be so focused on trying to make the right choice, or maybe feeling like we need to hurry up and make a choice about something. And not everything that is being presented to us at this current moment is going to be of benefit. So we need to be very aware of what is actually in the cups, essentially, like what is actually there. What are we truly choosing for ourselves? What are we wanting to focus on at this time? And how will that affect what we have going on with ourselves and what we have kind of happening for us? Now, with what we need to do, we have the Queen of Earth or the Queen of Pentacles. So I like to look at the Queen of Pentacles as this energy of nurturing and very much being focused on our physical life, our physical health, our bodies, our behavior, our, surroundings. And so with this being what we need to do is maybe we need to look at what do we have around us? Do we feel stable and nurtured by the things that we have in our environment? Do we have what we need? Are we, able to kind of lay back and say, okay, everything is done. Everything is ready. I have everything available to me. We maybe need to kind of pay attention to, the opportunity to look at, do I have what I need in my space and in my home in order for me to feel the most comfortable and to have everything that I necessarily kind of required to feel nurtured in my space and in my home. And if not, what is it that we need to do to kind of bring some more of that into our space? One of the things and messages that I've kind of gotten over the last few weeks is to buy a little extra, to, focus on how much food I have at home, how much do I have in my pantry, in my stock, in order for me to kind of not just make it and keep it simpler in my space, but to just have what I need so that I'm not having to run out as often to the store. But I was also preparing myself for this surgery where I was I know I'm not going to be able to go and do a lot of these things on my own afterwards. So I was very much okay, I need to get all of these heavy things that I typically purchase and kind of just have them here and have doubles of things or, enough of things so that I don't have to count on somebody else to help me in the future. Now, the Queen of Pentacles, she's very much this kind of energy of nurturing and taking care of our space, of looking at the levels of happiness that we have in our own lives. And so I think with what we need to do is maybe we need to look at, are we comfortable in our spaces? Do we like what we have? Are we surrounding ourselves with things that we love, that feel nurturing, that feel balancing, that feel sustainable for us? And if not, what can we do to kind of bring more of that energy? And I think maybe this week will be a good one, especially with us having this full moon in Capricorn. We'll have Mercury retrograde in Cancer. This is a good time to kind of look at, what we value, what we have, what we've been working towards, what we mean with what we have and things of that nature. So just kind of pay attention to what is happening there. Now, with what we need to release, we have love, which is the Lover's card in traditional tarot. Now, here we're kind of given this opportunity to look at, maybe we need to look at the life that we've aligned ourselves with. When I think of the Lovers, I think it's very much this energy of I am trying to align myself with things that I love, with values that I have in my life, the choices that I've been making as far as what kind of relationships and connections I have in my life, who I'm kind of tying myself to. And the Lovers is this very interesting energy, I think, for many people, because they think of just like romantic love. And I think that the Lovers is so much more than that. It's so much more of like, who are we connecting to and why? What are we choosing to love about the things that we have in our life and why we have those things in our life? And so I think with what we need to release this week is this like, kind of maybe this desire to have relationships look a certain way or be a certain way. And this being a major card, we're kind of given this opportunity to look at like what sort of big ideas and relationships and connections do we have in our life that maybe we haven't really been paying that much attention to, that we need to be aware of in order for us to really maximize and look at, what we value, not just in our personal lives, but also within ourselves. So maybe we need to release some of the relationships that we've been hanging on to. Maybe this is like not the time to just be like so focused on, well, I really care about this and I really want this and I really, feel like this is what I need to focus on. I think it's kind of saying maybe this is not a time to be so focused on, how we're choosing certain partnerships and relationships in our lives, and maybe looking at, where we feel nurtured and what options and choices we've kind of been giving ourselves in different ways. And I know it's hard whenever we have these like long-term relationships with people and then we don't come to a realization or an understanding of like, is this actually a beneficial connection and relationship for me? And if it isn't, what can I do to kind of rectify that or change that? Now, with what we need to contemplate, we have the 3 of Fire or the 3 of Wands, which this is about strategizing, planning. Maybe we need to be more aware of like what is inspiring us right now, what is kind of leading us, what choices are we making as far as what connections have we made that allow us to look at where we're trying to get and what we're trying to do. So I think with the 3 of Wands or the 3 of Fire here, we're kind of given an opportunity to look at, okay, well, we're trying to get someplace. We all have goals, right? We all have things that we want, things that we desire, things that we prioritize and value. And so for many of us, we may not realize like we're using different relationships and connections as a stepping stone for the next thing, or we're using different elements and aspects of our lives to kind of get to where we're going. So it's like, if you're like, I have this plan in place of what I want for the future, what am I doing every day to kind of get there? What action steps am I taking in order to be prepared for the next thing or to be available for what I want to come and happen? So I think the big thing with the 3 of Fire is we need to kind of look at, what is our long-term plan? What are we actually working towards? What are we, doing? And how does that look for us long-term? What action steps do we need to focus on right now that will make sense for the future? So maybe it's a time to kind of reflect on our current plans, reflect on, how are we using, the things that are available to us, or the options, the choices, what choices are we making? What things do we need to kind of nurture us and kind of plan ahead? I think that this week is just one where we need to look at where are we headed and like, what is it that we need to kind of be prepared for moving forward? And I think that's very much like Capricorn energy. I feel like that is essentially a big lesson of like what happened when we had the new moon in Capricorn in January. We're kind of given this like sense of like, all right, what are we working towards? What have we been doing? Are we doing what is necessary? Are we paying attention to what makes the most sense and what we need for ourselves in the future? Now, if we look at the full moon message of this week, which will be the full moon in Capricorn on Monday, we do have this message of forgiveness. We are being told that this is not a time to hang on to things that don't really make sense. Maybe it is a time to kind of let go of whatever we've been hanging on to that is just dragging us down, because there's so many other things that we need to be focusing on. Us being so caught up in the past. And I know with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, there can be a lot of like old hurts, old energy that's kind of popping up that maybe we're like, oh, I wish it would have been this and I wish it would have been like that, and blah, 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 blah. So I think with the full moon forgiveness message here is what it sounds like. Maybe we need to look at what we've been hanging on to, what we need to forgive, whether it's things within ourselves, things that maybe didn't work out the way that we had anticipated, maybe some of the relationships that we've had kind of around us. I think that there will be this like highlight of, have I let go of things that don't really make sense for this next phase? Have I been able to release myself from these, kind of emotional, mental, spiritual, or even physical attachments to how things were and how things haven't been, or how things didn't work out or whatever. So I think with the full moon forgiveness message here is that we're being invited to look at, what do we need to release and move on from so that we can make space and kind of illuminate the next thing. And I think that's why we have the healer card, which is offerings, release, freedom. Forgiveness can be a sense of freedom in so many different ways, because if we stop holding ourselves hostage to different situations, different connections, to, things that don't make sense, things that just like aren't, coming together, or, really, I guess in a way, like really informing what it is that we want and what we need. I think with the healer card, it's kind of saying like, all right, we have to kind of let go, because what we've been doing and what we've been hanging on to, it's not helping us. It's not doing anything for us. This, rancor that we're hanging on to, it does nothing. And all it is doing is keeping us stagnant. And I think that this week is kind of saying like, hey, there's a lot of stuff you need to be more focused on, instead of these, not to say petty, because I don't really feel like it's so much just pettiness, but maybe these things that in the grand scheme aren't really going to be significant and important for what comes next. And so I think with a lot of these things that are trying to happen right now, we're kind of given an opportunity to say, all right, what are you going to take with you when this is all we have? Or you only have so much space and you only have so much room? What is it that you're going to value enough to kind of take with you? And that is something like I've been very much kind of like focusing on for myself the last like week or so, of just like, what am I carrying that doesn't make sense? What am I, like, what is the point of being upset about this didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to, or I've been wanting this one thing to be this way for so long, and I'm just now getting it to look this way. And so I think emotionally, a lot of us have been carrying a lot of like frustration or anger, or even just like this sense of I didn't get or I didn't have. And I think that's what these cards are talking about. It's maybe utilizing this full moon energy to kind of say like, all right, I forgive myself. I forgive the situation. I forgive these people. And it isn't, I think some people look at forgiveness as like something that helps the other person, when in actuality, I feel like forgiveness and surrendering, kind of letting go, it really is about giving yourself the freedom to kind of move into the next thing and to feel much more fulfilled with what you have and what you get and what you want in your life, versus trying to give the other person peace, if that makes sense. So I think that this is going to be a very interestingly heavy emotional week. I know we have Jupiter moving into Leo as well, so that is something to kind of keep in mind. We have like Leo symbolism here on this card. So I hope that everyone's doing okay. I want to say thank you so much for all of the well wishes. My surgery went well. I am still in recovery and still recovering. So I appreciate any well wishes towards my recovery. I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to continuously try to share different things on here. I do have some pre-recorded videos that I didn't ever post that will be hopefully posting once I edit them here in July. So I want to say thank you for you being here. Thank you for listening to me yap. And I really hope that you are taking care of yourself. I appreciate you. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.